and welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports, and this is my son, Henry Paur.
Hi.
On today's show, we're going to give you our 2020 quarterback preview for the fantasy season. We're going to be posting these previews in our draft guide, which you can get, which is going to be launched on June 1st. We're very excited about our draft guide. All free content, great info. We have projected stats, all sorts of rankings, team depth charts. We have strategy articles. These videos will be posted. A great ADP feature. It's kind of interactive now, which is great. You can sort to see who's moving up and down the rankings. I love that feature. So we're really excited about our free draft guide. You can get that for your phone as well. It's in the App Store. You can get that in there. You can look at it on your phone wherever you are. So give our free draft guide a shot this year. Also, don't forget about our leagues on our site. We have all sorts of money leagues going off, all different price points. We have our famous best ball leagues. Our big fantasy championship gives away $300,000. Also, our commissioner product too. Go to rtsports.com. Look at all these leagues. Our commissioner product as well. Sign up for one today. So, Henry, let's get into this quarterback preview. Ready for this?
Yeah.
First question, before we get to the players themselves, how do you approach the quarterback spot come draft day? What's your approach to drafting a QB?
I always pick him late. Last year, I got Russell Wilson in the 8th round of my draft, and look what he turned out to do. Had a great season. Just pick him late.
I follow the same strategy. I'm not going to act early on a quarterback, especially in a best ball league, which I talked about a second ago, very popular now. I'm going to take 3 QBs in a best ball league. I'm going to wait late. Hopefully one hits on a weekly basis. But overall, I'm not going to act early. I think I'd rather get the skill positions like running back and receiver before I act on a quarterback. I'm going to let somebody else take Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. I'm just going to wait. I think this position's super deep again this year. About 17, 18 guys that I feel comfortable with as a low-end number 1 quarterback. So I'm waiting on the position. Let somebody else act early on a quarterback. All right, Henry, let's talk about players now. So how about some guys you're targeting? I'll give you one guy first. I like Carson Wentz this year. He was 7th overall in quarterback scoring last year. He had nearly no receivers to work with. Everybody was hurt. They were a mess, the Eagles, offensively because of injuries. And Wentz was still 7th overall. Now we have Jalen Reagor as his receiver. Very good, talented, number 1. Could be a number 1 receiver at some point. He has 2 great tight ends in Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert as well. And they have the 5th easiest schedule for fantasy quarterbacks as well. And Wentz is going late. A guy like you said, you got Russell Wilson, 8th round of your draft last year. I think you can get Wentz in about that spot this year. And I think he's good value. I know he's an injury risk, but position's deep. You can get a good backup. I think Wentz is worth the risk. How about you? How about a guy you're targeting this year?
Kyler Murray. He finished top 10 last year in fantasy quarterbacks. I think he's going to repeat that, and he just added DeAndre Hopkins. That's a great year for Murray right there. I'm targeting him.
I like Murray a lot, too. If I'm going to act early on an elite quarterback, it's probably going to be Murray because I can get him a little later than Jackson Mahomes. Another guy I like this year is Matthew Stafford. I think it's kind of overlooked last year because he got hurt. He got hurt in week 8, missed the rest of the year, but he was on pace for nearly 5,000 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, just 10 interceptions. He was having a huge year, and this shouldn't be a surprise because Stafford's done this in the past. He has 7 4,000-yard seasons for his career, and 3 of those seasons with 30-plus touchdowns. So Stafford, another guy you can get later than the top guys, and I think he's set up for a big year. I like that receiving core, too, with Kenny Golladay. I think he's going to be huge this year. I think Stafford's going to be a good value pick for a lot of fantasy teams, guy I'm looking for on a lot of my teams as well. So on the flip side, we just talked about players that we like, that we're targeting. How about guys you're avoiding? First guy for me, Henry, I'll start off, Ryan Tannehill. I'm a little bit concerned about him because of the Titans' run-first approach. They did this especially in the playoffs. Tannehill had fewer than 100 passing yards 2 of 3 playoff games. Last year, his numbers were skewed a little bit because of his touchdown totals. That's what helped his fantasy production. Overall, he didn't get a lot of chances sometimes on a weekly basis. Fewer than 20 pass attempts, 3 of 12 games. I'm just not sure he's worth the risk. I think he'll have some big games, but I think he'll also disappear in a lot of others as they ride Derrick Henry in that offense. How about you, Henry? Somebody you're avoiding?
Baker Mayfield. People were very high on Mayfield last year, and he turned out to be terrible. I think that's going to be the same case this year. People like him. I don't think he's going to play well. I just don't trust Mayfield.
All right. I'm not huge on Mayfield either. Coaching change could be a positive for him, but I think he definitely carries some risk. So another guy I'm avoiding, Phillip Rivers. He had a kind of a disaster of year last year. Tons of turnovers, interceptions, fumbles. That offensive line was terrible in Los Angeles. It should be better in Indianapolis, but I just don't see a big rebound for him at this stage of his career. His arm strength doesn't seem as good anymore. He doesn't have quite as good receivers to work with in Indianapolis as he did in Los Angeles. And I think Colts could be a little more run heavy this year with Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack as well on the offensive side of the ball. So I think they could run more. I don't think this move to Indianapolis is going to be a great thing for Rivers. All right, Henry, how about a couple sleepers, guys that you think you can get later that you think could end up having a big year?
Drew Lock. He only played about 2 or 3 games last year because of Flacco getting hurt, and then he started after that. So he didn't play much. But I think this year, he's going to start the whole year. He's going to have a great season. He played well those last couple of games of the year. He's going to repeat that the whole year round.
Yep, they added a lot of offensive weapons as well. Henry's sporting you can show him your Lock jersey. He's a big Drew Lock fan, so it might have skewed his pick there. But I actually like Lock as well. It's kind of hard to say like Lock, but I do too. A lot of good receivers on that team. Added Cortland Sutton, some players in the draft, so I think he's set up for good things. So a couple sleepers for me. Derek Carr. I know a lot of people aren't huge on him after the last couple years, but I mean, they were a mess at receiver last year. Darren Waller was really the only dependable option, and he was a tight end. Their highest receiver had 651 yards. They revamped that core this year, took Henry Ruggs in the first round. A lot more talent on that side of the ball. And even with last year's terrible output from the receivers, Carr was 16th overall in fantasy quarterback scoring. So I think the potential's there. He had his first 4,000-yard season as a pro as well. So I think he'll build on that this year, get him late in drafts. He has 2 seasons with 28-plus touchdowns as well. So I think Carr's good value as well. It could end up being a sneaky pick late in drafts. I'll give you one more sleeper, Henry, a guy from one of your favorite teams, Carolina Panthers, Teddy Bridgewater. So I know Bridgewater wasn't, huge last year with the Saints and his chances. He was okay, though. But I think he showed that he was healthy, and he moves to Carolina, gets a chance to start from day one. I love their receiving core in Carolina, too, Henry. I know you do, too. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel. That's 3 top receivers. I think Bridgewater's going to have some big games, especially a guy I'm targeting in best ball leagues. Again, I know the arm strength is a little bit of a concern. Doesn't take a lot of chances downfield, but I think these receivers are going to make plays with the ball in their hands. And can't forget about Christian McCaffrey, too, right?
Yeah.
He's definitely a guy in the receiving core who plays like a receiver. It's a running back, so that's a big plus for Bridgewater as well. So got to talk about rookies now, Henry. Anybody, that you like at all this year, you think could make an impact out of that rookie class?
Joe Burrow. I think he could have a great season. The potential is there. Last year, the Bengals had a pretty good receiving core. They lost Green, but Green's coming back this year. And their quarterback situation is terrible, so now they add Burrow. I think that it's going to be a pretty good offense there.
I do like that offense. I think Burrow's probably the only guy I like not in dynasty leagues because I think Burrow's going to start from day one, like you said. I like that receiving core. I like Zach Taylor, too, as their coach. Very good offensive mind. I think that's a big plus for Burrow and his development. So I think that's a good thing. I think he'll have some big games, a good pick. I mean, you have Tua, Justin Herbert as well. Both guys that I think could start at some point this year. I'm just not sure they're going to make a huge impact when they're in the lineup, though. And I don't think they'll start from day one either. I think Tua's going to sit and watch Ryan Fitzpatrick. You think that's going to happen with him as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think Fitzpatrick had good showing last year in Miami. If those teams start to tank, Miami and the Chargers, you could see these rookies get a chance, but I don't think they're going to make a huge impact this year. So right now, I think Burrow's really the only guy, and I think Henry agrees with that as well when it comes to rookie fantasy quarterbacks for this year. So now, Henry, we're going to do something. I'm going to give you 2 players who have similar value, similar ADP value, going similar spots. And I want you to tell me who you're going to take out of those 2 guys, okay?
Okay.
All right, first one, consensus top 2 fantasy quarterbacks this year, Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. Who do you take if you have that decision?
Mahomes. His injury held him back a lot last year, but if he would have played that whole season, he would have had a phenomenal year. He still went out and won the Super Bowl. I think he's going to rebound this year. After that injury, he's going to have a great season.
Close call for me. I'm going with Jackson just because of the rushing stuff. 1,000-yard rusher as a quarterback, that is just crazy to me. And he still threw the ball pretty well. They helped their receiver core a little bit this year, too, in the offseason. So I still like Jackson just a little more than Mahomes. I could see Mahomes having a huge year, though, but it's the rushing totals for me. I mean, a 1,000-yard rusher as a quarterback, crazy. I know that Jackson might get fewer carries this year as they try to keep him, healthy and upright, but still, I think Jackson's probably just a little safer in my view. So now I'm going to look at a couple veterans here, Henry. Drew Brees, Tom Brady. Both guys who have had huge seasons in the past, been MVP players. So now they're going in about the same spot. Who do you take if you have to decide between those two?
Drew Brees. He has a ton of offensive weapons. He just added Sanders. He has Sanders, Thomas, and he has Jared Cook at tight end. I think that's a powerful offense. Brees is going to produce some points there.
I like Brees too, but I'm going to disagree with you here, Henry. I'm going with Brady. I know he's your nemesis. I'm sorry for saying that. But I'm going with Brady. I just love those weapons in Tampa Bay. Godwin, Evans, Gronk, O.J. Howard too. Can't forget about him. And they don't run the ball well. And I still don't think they're going to run the ball well, even with Vaughn in the mix, the rookie Deshaun Vaughn. I still think they're going to throw a lot in that offense. And I think Brady might have a slightly better season. He's going to rebound from the last few years, gets a chance to play with some top weapons. Yeah. So we disagree on our first two. How about the next one, Henry? Deshaun Watson versus Russell Wilson.
I have Russell Wilson in this one. He has DK and Lockett. Those two played great last year. They're going to have great seasons. Russell Wilson's going to produce points for himself and those two receivers. I mean, I would have went with Watson here if they still had Hopkins, but you don't know what's going to happen there with their receivers in Houston.
So we agree on this one, Henry. I like Wilson too. I just don't trust Watson after losing Hopkins. And like you said, receivers have some question marks. I know they brought in some guys like Cooks, and hopefully a healthy Will Fuller plays a full year. But I still think Wilson's a guy I trust here. Plus, he has an improving DK Metcalf. He's been super consistent as well, Russell Wilson. 3 straight seasons with 30-plus touchdowns. There's just a little less uncertainty surrounding Wilson in my view, so I'm gonna favor him here. And the last one is one that I never thought I would ask, but I'm asking it. Aaron Rodgers against Josh Allen. I know Rodgers has fallen some in recent years, so we got to ask this question. If you got Aaron Rodgers or Josh Allen, who are you picking, Henry?
Josh Allen. Rodgers getting older. He didn't have that great of a season last year. And Allen just adds Stephon Diggs to those weapons for receivers. So he had John Brown all of last year who had a great season, and now he has Diggs. I think Allen's going to produce tons of points down there and have a great year.
Yeah, close call for me. I'm surprised to say this, but I'm going to agree with you too, Henry. Josh Allen. I'm going to take Josh Allen over Aaron Rodgers. Wow. How the mighty has fallen, but that's the case with Rodgers. Just I don't like any of those receivers in Green Bay outside Devontae Adams, and they're going with a more run-heavy approach in that offense with Aaron Jones. They ran the ball more last year. I still think Rodgers will have some big games, but again, with Allen, similar to Lamar Jackson, in my view, those rushing totals really help his fantasy numbers. He has 500-plus rushing yards each of his first 2 seasons. He should do that again this year. And like you said, they added Stephon Diggs. I know Allen was shaky in that playoff game, kind of scares a lot of people going into this year, but still, I think he'll produce some big games, and I trust him more than Aaron Rodgers at this point. Kind of surprising to say, right, Henry?
Yeah.
All right, that's our quarterback preview. We're going to do all the positions, so look for those in our draft guide and on our league homepage as well. You can also listen to this on the podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. We appreciate that, and you can check out all our information at rtsports.com. Henry, thanks so much for joining me again. Appreciate it. Looking forward to doing the next position.
Yeah.
All right, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports, and it's my son, Henry Paur. Wishing you a great day and happy drafting as all your drafts start kicking off hopefully at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Have a great day, everyone.